When we compare Rolex versus Rolex, it's hard to pick one because what we talk about are more often than not the best in the business watches that money can buy. And then when we start to look at the differences and what makes these watches unique, it's worth to step back and see the similarities in what also actually make them great. The history that these watches carry is so rich that we can spend all day talking about it. 1953, Rolex Explorer came out to commemorate the first ascent to Mount Everest. And then 1954 brought the day for the world to see the first commercial watch to go to the depths of 100 meters of water, called Rolex Submariner. In last 65 years, Rolex Explorer and Submariner have continued to improve and evolve into the best modern sports watches. And then there's one more similarity that these watches share. Despite all the modern advancements and transitions, they have not moved away from their iconic looks. Both watches come with COSC certification, meaning your watch will not lose more than ±2 seconds a day. Both watches come with water resistance, although Explorer comes with 100 meter rating, whereas Submariner is 300 meter water resistant. To help with water resistance, both watches come with the screw-down crown. The Submariner comes with larger crown to go with the greater water resistance rating. Submariner is 40mm and Explorer is 39mm, and while Explorer does wear true to its size, the Submariner, due to maxi case, wears more like a 42mm watch, and that's purely because of its wider case profile. In terms of lug-to-lug height, the Explorer is 47.5mm versus 48.5mm on the Sub. The lug width is where the greater difference comes in, and Rolex Sub expands its span at the lugs. Lug-to-lug width extremity on Rolex Sub is actually 4mm wider than Explorer, although the case size is only 1mm larger. For reference, Rolex Explorer is 24mm wide at lugs and the Sub is substantial 28mm at lugs. For the same reason, you can see that the Sub looks more rectangular and angular as opposed to Explorer, which inclines towards its circular profile. The bracelet width, despite different lug span, is however the same. The bracelet looks fine in both in terms of its width, and there is no sense that either of them looks out of place. The dial size on this Submariner, as you can see, is slightly smaller than the Explorer, measuring at 28mm, as opposed to the dial on Explorer, which is 30mm in size. This is an interesting difference, where although Explorer has 39mm case, which is smaller than Sub by 1mm, the dial size is actually 2mm bigger. This does not mean that the Explorer wears larger or looks bigger on the wrist, because even though the bezel on the Sub is technically not a dial component, yet due to the same color of the bezel, it becomes a part of the watch face. And then the overall substance and the size of the watch face still remains bigger on Sub than it is on Explorer. Just for reference, the color of bezel on Sub is the same as the dial, but the shade is different. Whereas in case of black Sub, the shades on the bezel and the dial are the same as well. The bezel on Explorer is also thinner than it is on Submariner, and since it is a steel bezel on Explorer, it blends in with the bracelet nicely and minimizes the overall subtlety of the watch. Explorer comes with dark greyish or vintage black color, and Rolex Submariner Black has a very deep and jet black color. For reference, this is Explorer versus the black GMT, and you can see the difference in the shades of the black. Rolex Sub comes in the same black as GMT, so you can expect the same difference in the dial shades. Both watches are professional sports watches and made by Rolex purely for dedicated sports activities, with Explorer release linking with mountain exploration and Sub for diving. So the question which one is more sporty is invalid. The only difference worth noting is that the Submariner comes with ceramic bezel, which takes the daily beating better. The ceramic bezels are designed to be tolerant to daily hits and bangs. So Submariner bezel will practically not get any scratches or dings, whereas on Explorer the bezel is polished steel, so if you hit it, it will take the damage or show you fine scratches or swirls. The polished bezel, however, does not change the sporty attributes at all. Rather, it makes the Explorer a little more versatile in terms of its use with dressy attire. Not that the Sub can't be used with formal dresses, but it is truly not meant to be a watch worn with formal dresses, although I would personally not be reluctant in doing so. To complement the dressy attributes that steel bezel adds to Explorer, the stick hour markers further help in making it more subtle, understated and dress inclined. On the other hand, the circular hour markers on Sub will always make it look sporty and a casual watch. The 369 dial configuration of Explorer is its iconic design character that is also genetic to its looks and feel. On Submariner, the dial has stick indices at 369, with this version of Sub offering the date at 3 o'clock marker and then the Cyclops lens to magnify the font for quick date reading. Both watches come with luminescent material filled in them and showcase absolutely stunning blue lume when viewed in the dark. The Explorer, due to lack of the date, of course showcases a more balanced and symmetrical dial, whereas Sub date has one marker with lume missing at the date. If you prefer balanced lume, you can also avoid this in Sub by choosing to go for no Sub date. The case thickness of Explorer is 10.5mm compared to 12mm on Rolex Sub, which further helps adding a little dressier character to Explorer as opposed to more sporty looking Sub, which is slightly thicker due to its increased water resistance by 3 times. The Sub, being a diver's watch, is still actually a very thin watch compared to other diver watches out in the wild. Submariner has more text on the dial, and the dial is a little more busier as opposed to Explorer, which due to lesser text and lack of date and then 2mm bigger dial size looks ever so slightly more cleaner. Both watches come with trip lock clasp and quick extension link, which adds 5mm adjustment to bracelet length. Submariner comes further with glide lock mechanism to allow lengthening or shortening the overall bracelet length. The glide lock mechanism in the Rolex Sub deserves some extra time and attention. To mention that it not only offers a lot of convenience and time saving, but it is actually the best glide lock clasp system in the business across anything I have seen, talked about or shared on my channel to date. There is no right or wrong answer here, and these watches actually only have different strengths and not really any weaknesses. It really boils down to which strength of the watch works better for your personal taste or lifestyle, and that should determine your pick of the pair. If you're looking for a professional watch that is more understated, subtle, stays under the radar, and intend on using it with both formal and casual dresses, Explorer might be your best option here. But if you want something that is also a professional sports watch, is a little more loud and substantial due to added size and thickness, takes daily hits better and offers a more flexible bracelet adjustment options, and has a little more recognition as a Rolex face, Submariner should get your eyes. At the end of the day, if I can, I will truly add both in my collection. They don't really replace each other, they rather complement.